Good morning, everybody. My name is Max, and this is my best friend Adam, and today we are going to be practicing reflective skills. Good morning, Adam.
Morning.
Good to see you again.
Right on.
Last time we spoke, you were telling me a little bit about how you felt that work was not allowing you to be creative and to grow into something bigger.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, in tune saying that with work, there's no delegation, so we don't have anybody that's actually delegated to run certain departments. It's just one person that oversees everything.
Okay.
So when it's like that, it's the one person gets overly worn out because he's trying to pay attention to everything instead of delegating certain people in certain areas of the business to basically to lessen the stress on himself and then lessen the stress on us because we seemingly have to be worrying about everything.
So what you're saying is that there is not much of any delegation going on.
No.
Does that mean that there's not a supervisor besides the owner that supervises you guys?
Just the one supervisor. He's just the owner, and then there's a few people that have some responsibilities, but no one in our departments that run the certain areas. So we have two areas, and we don't have anybody that's running the two areas.
Right.
Just everyone's pretty much their own boss, despite the fact of the boss.
Okay. Okay. And how long has this boss been actually running this business for?
6 years.
And did they have any previous experience in what you do?
Yeah, they had their own area, their own territory of the business.
Okay.
So they ran their own business, but it was more small scale, and then subcontracted out people that I work with now that work for the company that I work for now that is now where that man has the whole territory. Instead of just a small piece, he's got the whole piece.
Right.
So he had a small scale to a large scale.
So when we spoke last time, you were bothered about how the owner, even though you spoke to him a few times, he wouldn't take your suggestions or allow you to grow. How is this affecting the way you work?
Well, I wouldn't go so much as saying that. I mean, he definitely listens to what you're saying, but in the sense of it's more like he's morally thinking about what he's going to say, without listening to what you're saying.
Right.
So I could be saying this, but then he could be thinking about what he's going to say and not really register what I'm saying. And then later, a month or two down the road, we'll actually implement the idea that I laid before his feet.
Okay. Okay. And do you see yourself continuing with this company?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because little by little it starts to break through more and more. The harder you work, despite the fact that sometimes you feel like you're working so hard that it's not being noticed, but yet it is being noticed. It's kind of a weird situation where you feel like you're not accomplishing anything with, promoting, getting higher up in the company, but then again, all of a sudden you'll get, a raise or, you'll get not so much promoted in a better position, but mainly just more money.
How much more room do you have to grow in this company?
Well, it all depends on what area, either if you're in sales, the sky's the limit. And if you're in sales, I mean, with our situation, our experience, it's better to be still working and selling because you're still getting your hourly rate and then you're still getting your commission. But if you were just to go into sales, I mean, you would really literally have to be pawing the dirt to get business.
Right. Okay. And do you guys work in territories, or how does that work? Do you guys only go in Palm Beach, or do you?
We go all over the eastern coast of Florida, so from all the way to Daytona to the Key West, and then we go as far west as Okeechobee City, and then we carry all the way down. So the majority of our business is east of 95, and I'd say probably 50% east of 95, 50% west of 95. So it's pretty much, coastal areas, and we're mostly seasonal. So when the winter kicks in, that's when we start getting a lot of business.
Were you where you were at now, where you were last year? Like, did you see any progressive regressive behavior by the owner as far as acknowledging what you do and how you do things within the last year?
Yeah, I got a new van. That we got a new style of van for the company, and he gave that van to me.
Right.
And I've been using that van. So, and then we have a lot of new vehicles now, but I got the new van, the much bigger van, because of the type of work that I'm doing.
So he is acknowledging
Absolutely.
what you're doing. Okay.
It just doesn't. There's not a lot of verbal communication with it. It's more actional, like giving actions. They say actions speak louder than words, but it's not as prevalent as you would think. It would be when you least expect it. You'll just, here's a new van, or here's a raise, without you even acknowledging and knowing that, and usually it'd be at the boiling point where you're stressed out and you're ready to be like, I got to say something about it, and then all of a sudden, you got a raise. Oh, so I don't know if he's a mind reader, but.
So do you think he looks at your body language when he sees you, when he sees that you're unhappy with the way things are going? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Definitely sees body language.
And from what I'm hearing you saying is that you'd much rather hear him verbally
absolutely.
Acknowledge what you do.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Absolutely. The more verbal communicating with employees when you're the boss man, it really keeps everybody on the same page.
Okay. Now, how many employees work with you?
Let's see. We have 1, 2. 8 people in the field. Well, 7 actually in the field. Actually, yeah, 8 people in the field, and then we have 4 people in the office plus my boss, so 5, and then we have a salesman.
So about 14 to 15 employees.
About that much.
Okay. Do you ever feel that maybe down the road, you'd want to branch out?
Oh, absolutely.
And do your own thing? Tell me more about that.
Well, I'm working at that right now. There's an area, there's territories up into the, Orlando, east of Orlando area, the Titusville, Daytona. It's kind of a very spread out territory. There's, companies being, that are actually building a lot of houses on mass production. And what we do is we put, retractable screens on people's doors,
right,
and sliders and stuff. So when there's new developments, an influx of population in certain areas, you're going to definitely get people that are going to want to get something for cross ventilation, keep the bugs out. It's definitely a market in the making in those areas.
Okay. Let's go back and talk about the verbal acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever catch your boss verbally acknowledging anybody else in the workforce?
Let's see. Yes and no. It all depends on the mood that he's in. Whether it's a good or bad, it depends. It's hard to really say because once in a while, it's not something that he does all the time. But if in a meeting that we have, he may acknowledge, but typically he doesn't try to use people's names in meetings because he doesn't want to put people on pedestals and he doesn't want to point people out in meetings. But typically, no, he tends to just kind of speak to everybody in a whole because he doesn't want to single anybody out in any positive or negative way.
With your previous line of work, did you also experience where there was more or less verbal acknowledgement?
Oh, it was absolutely no verbal acknowledgement. It was absolutely, none whatsoever. It was only your faults. Anything that you ever did wrong, it was acknowledged.
Did that make you feel unappreciated?
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't change the way you work. Well, in my case, it doesn't. I still work the same, but it's something you definitely think about.
Okay.
It's always there in the back of your head.
Does this owner point out your faults as well?
He does in a sense where it becomes a problem. See, the interesting thing is that it's a service industry, so you're going to have customers that either, are irrational about things,
Right.
and being able to tell the difference between if they're being irrational or if it's actually a legitimate reason for them to be upset.
Okay.
It all depends on how well they're communicating and how well the people in the office communicate with them on whatever the problem is. And then he'll be able to figure that out. Now, if it's something installation-wise that you're not doing correctly, then he'll actually, point it out. Like, within the first 9 months of me working there, I was putting something in wrong. 1 out of 3 screens I installed, we were getting service calls on.
Right.
So what he did is that after it mounted, it was basically, he investigated it for about, however long, because he's got the numbers, he's got the, on file each job and what the problems were, went and actually looked at the jobs and saw what I was doing wrong, and then he corrected and pointed out what I should do in those instances. And ever since then, I haven't had any problems.
So, have you ever sat down and weighed out the pros and cons of where you're at with the company?
Somewhat, not typically, because it's unfortunate is that he's so busy sometimes. Because when you're trying to run everything all the time, well, you're not trying, but when you're actually running every aspect of the business, it's kind of hard to get somebody to sit down and go over something. Because if he's always out in the field getting sales, or he's in the office trying to make sure people in the office are doing their jobs, dealing with contractors, dealing with this, dealing with that, talking to his wife, he's, sick, has to go to the hospital, it's very hard to get somebody their full attention.
And do you think that's probably why he's not verbally acknowledging a lot of the stuff that his employees are doing, because he is like a one-man operation?
Yeah. He's, I guess what the term would be micromanage.
Micromanage. Okay.
So when you're micromanaging everything, you tend to, you may see the vast picture, but you're not getting the little details. You're not looking and finding all the big details that are right there in front of you, but it's kind of like when you got the money coming in and you're doing so well, but there's issues, tend to really, even the issues are sought out most of the time, but the positive things, I think over time, it's there. He knows it, but it's just, I think the thing is he doesn't want anybody to have a big head.
I got you. So, okay, that's understandable. Based on our dialogue, it seems that you love what you do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a good job.
So the actual pros behind this is that you're learning about an industry that's up and coming, and that's much of a demand, at least in the southeast Florida region.
Yeah, for the price that it is, it's expensive, but it is definitely, people could really, it's a very compact, and it's a good product for people to have if they're wanting to get fresh air in the house, keep the bugs out. It's something that's not so obtuse sticking on somebody's door frame. It kind of blends in with its surroundings.
Right. So you see yourself doing this
Absolutely.
for quite a while?
Yeah.
And did you ever think about maybe, as we go back to what we were talking about, branching out and doing your own thing?
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the type of business for that. So, I mean, you start getting good at it, you start knowing what it is and understanding the product, and that's what he wants.
Right.
I mean, he's already acknowledged it already about people becoming their own dealers in time.
Right. Okay. So next week when we get together, we may want to talk about how you'd like to start strategizing yourself and creating short goals for you to start actually recognizing what's the next step for you. This company seems like it's a great company. The owner seems like he is a great boss. It's just he's taking in so much at once. But it seems that you have leadership skills, and that maybe it's time you take over your own reins. So what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam, until next week, thank you, sir.
You got it.
Peace.